Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ashok Goyal and I'm the chairman of Rail Analysis. And first of all, I would like to warmly welcome and thank Mr. A.K. Chandra, Principal Executive Director, Works and Development, Railway Board, who has been very kind to give us his valuable time to grace the occasion by his benign presence here. Thank you so much, sir. I would also like to welcome all the learned panelists, the speakers, the sponsors, the partners, exhibitors, stallholders, the ex-railway officials, government officers, VIP delegates, the staff of Meridian Hotel, attendees, and the team of Rail Analysis to this first panel discussion of the third Rail and Metro Technology Conclave 2022. This event would not have been possible without the help, guidance, and support, and cooperation of you, one and all, who are present here to grace this multi-dimensional Rail and Metro Conclave. Today's topic for the first panel discussion is focus on PM Gati Shakti, Vande Bharat, Make in India, and rolling stock, all coupled into one discussion. Without taking any more of your valuable time, I will straight away get onto the panel discussion on the major objectives of the development and innovation on rolling stock, which is the backbone of our rail and metro industry. First of all, I would request Shri A.K. Chandra ji. Sir, there is a lot of focus on Vande Bharat train sets. How do you view this development?
Good morning to you all. Vande Bharat is one of the most prime projects, not for the Indian Railways, but for the whole country as such. This was first tried in 2018 when the first prototype came out from ICF, and then it ran successfully for over 2 years between Delhi and Varanasi, and then the second one between Delhi and Jammu, Delhi and Katra. These trains have logged more than 10 lakhs kilometers so far, each one of them. In fact, last year, that is 2021-22, when we were planning for the future, planning for the budget for 22-23, the emphasis was to bring in a paradigm shift in technology transfer. We had, in general, in the government, 2-3 routes of technology transfer. The route which we had been following so far is the TOT, when somebody with his technology, you are all well aware of what is a TOT, but its assimilation and its adoption takes a lot of time, as in the case of LHB or IGBT technology in the case of locomotives. LHB is not a new technology. It is almost 40 years old now. But we could completely adapt to it after having entered into TOT in the 80s, in 2010-11 or so. We started mass scale production only in 2011 of LHB. So while preparing for the budget of 2022-23, we decided that this technology is also pretty old, so we should go in for a technology which is latest, and which is internationally accepted, and we should try to make it in India. So that was the philosophy. And the mode of acquisition this time was that since Indian Railways have already invested so much in creation of infrastructure for rolling stock manufacture, having imported technology from outside would have resulted into wastage of the infrastructure that had been created. So we decided that, any partner, any technology partner who is bringing in the technology, if we ask him to deliver here, then he will take his own time in creating the infrastructure for manufacturing those rolling stocks. So we decided that we will give them the basic infrastructure, the manufacturing facilities in our existing production units. We will offer our men who will work with the technology partner on those projects. So our men will also be trained simultaneously. So that is how the concept of Vande Bharat took off. And now ICF, this year, year 2022-23, we have planned to roll out about 75 Vande Bharat trains from our production units. There is a process of acquisition of 300 more trains through this route of technology transfer, which I just elaborated. So it will be a quantum jump in adoption of new technology in the shortest possible time. We could not think of a better model where our men and material and our infrastructure is also utilized, and the technology is also assimilated at a faster pace. So that is how the Vande Bharat project is taking shape, and it has taken off. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandraji. I will come back to you in a bit. We have very limited time and many eminent speakers with vast experience. We have Shri Preetam Ganguly ji with us from Wabtec and Favely. Preetam ji, what is your take on Vande Bharat train set? Do you view this development? How do you view this development? Is Wabtec also supplying any parts for this?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goyal, for this question, and good morning, everybody. So, well, to me, Vande Bharat, as Mr. Chandra rightly pointed out, is a multi-step upgradation of technology from what we have today in the Indian Railways in the passenger transit segment to what we will see in the next few years. Now, in terms of passenger experience, it can really enhance it in terms of safety, speed, and comfort, which are the primary requirements for somebody to undertake train travel. So before I say what Wabtec is doing in it and a little more about this Vande Bharat, I would dare say that if this is marketed well and the product performs reliably, you already heard the 2 train sets running from Delhi to Varanasi and Delhi to Katra. They've logged 10 lakh kilometers, performing well. It has the potential in some routes to compete even against air travel. So that's the potential, in my opinion, on the segment. There is also a potential to export these Vande Bharat train sets in the medium to long term once the needs for India are met to neighboring countries and even elsewhere across the world. So that's the size of the potential. As Mr. Chandra rightly said, we saw a 3-decade-old technology of LHB coaches, and in the last 10 years and maybe more in the last 5-7 years, Indian Railways ramped up to making about 6,000, 7,000 LHB coaches a year. Now, in this 500 to 1,500 kilometer segment, these LHB coaches, I understand, as per the National Rail Plan and what Indian Railways is envisaging, they will be moving completely towards train sets. The current train sets planned by Indian Railways are chair cars. However, the smart move that Indian Railways has done is to involve the private sector. And there is a tender that is live as we speak for 200 train sets, which will be sleeper coaches. Each train set is 16 cars. And the private sector has to build those train sets in the facility that's going to be provided by Indian Railways, as Mr. Chandra said. Which means that Indian Railways is trying to partner with the private sector to bring in even the latest technologies on this semi-high speed 160 to 200 kilometer per hour platform, and also marry with the private sector to ensure that reliability, availability, and best-in-class maintenance, because the private sector will also be responsible for the maintenance for the complete life of the train set. So in terms of what Wabtec is doing and a little bit on the technology, okay, so Wabtec has developed multiple products for the train sets, foreseeing that this opportunity is coming. So for the train set semi-high speed segment, we have the brake system, and this is not similar to what we give for the LHB, which is axle mounted, but a little bit, this is on the wheel mounted brake system on the bogie side, similar to what you see on the metros. Very efficient, lightweight, and lower maintenance costs. Then we have the latest technologies on couplers. We have the air conditioning systems. We have the pantographs for the train sets and the passenger access doors. We are also trying to localize as much as possible in order to be competitive. We are trying to support the potential builders for these train sets in the private sector by working with them at a very early stage and adopting a platform approach so that we are able to develop these products as and when the train set builders win the project. In addition to these 200 train sets, there is also a couple of other tenders for 100 train sets each on aluminum car body, concentrated and distributed power. So Indian Railways is thinking big in terms of procuring 400 train sets actually from the private sector. And let's all pray that it really goes through and the price points that Indian Railways is expecting is met. And also there is a fixed fee for maintenance that Indian Railways has put in these tender documents. Very challenging times, but very exciting times for the private sector if you're able to make this happen together. So last but not least, I would like to say it's very, very exciting for the railways, for the industry, and for the citizens of the country if they're able to see train sets close to what we see when we are traveling in Europe. So that's been our dream for some of us who've been in this sector for a couple of decades now, that there is this paradigm shift in technology that comes and the citizens of the country really find air travel comfortable, safe, and preferable, let me say. Thanks, Mr. Gul.
Thank you, Preetam ji, for your wonderful views and ideas and suggestions. We also have Shri Rajesh Agrawal ji, who has been the many years on the board in various capacities and various situations, and is also currently the advisor, principal advisor to Tata Steels. Sir, with your vast experience, Indian Railways has been aggressively going to manufacture Vande Bharat train sets. The speed potential of these train sets, which will operate at about 160 to 186 kilometers per hour, is immense. Can these train sets replace the LHB coaches and become sustainable for the future also?
Thank you, Mr. Goyal, and good morning, gentlemen. It's a pleasure being here, and I think your forum, Rail Analysis, I think is very keen. We should do a bit of analysis. And the theme, Gati, is also very significant.
Why not?
I think we should focus on that. So as far as Gati is concerned, 50 years ago, when the first Rajdhani was introduced between Kolkata and Delhi, the Indian Railways decided that we will look for 160 kmph trains. That was 50 years ago. And you know that more than 100 years ago, the world over, trains started running at 160 kilometers per hour with steam engines. So that's where Gati is. So let me put a little bit of analysis here. I think that in 2018, we got these LHP trains which had been there for a long time, but they had not really been inducted. We were still on with the ICF manufacture. So 2018 was quite a turning point for Indian Railways. We got 100% conversion to LHB. We got all LHB trains certified to 130 kilometers per hour. 160 was not possible because of track constraints. Otherwise, it could have been 160. We got all the old ICF trains converted to Utkrisht. The mobility increased tremendously. And I remember every single member of parliament who came that session in 2018, congratulated the then railway minister that, look, your trains seem to have started moving. And after all, rail moves the nation. Rail is the lifeline of the nation. I had the privilege of showing the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, the modern coach factory in a golf cart. More than 1 hour I spent with him. And then I also had the privilege of showing him the train 18, the so-called Vande Bharat train. That was in 2018. So I think 2018 was really, a complete transformation in all aspects of Indian Railways. But in 2019, a lot of radical changes took place. With the coming of the new government and, trying to take India to this 2030 or 2050, a large number of radical changes took place. So I think the analysis for 2019 will also be very relevant. In 2019, we stopped the production of the existing Vande Bharat trains, though these two trains were highly successful. But we thought that we could upgrade them to the next level. And we could come up with far better than what we had already done. So these trains, which we could have got at least 40 of them or maybe 100 of them in 2019, and maybe we could have run Mumbai-Delhi in 12 hours, unfortunately, or maybe rightly or wrongly. We decided that let's, take it to an even higher level. So that was stopped. We were also into aluminum technology, which had already been finalized for manufacture at MCF. But that was also put on hold because, again, we decided that we need something better than that. So a large number of these initiatives in 2019, and of course the railways also undergone a transformational change. With the coming of the Indian Railway Management Service, all the cadres were getting merged and all the departments were getting aggregated, and there was a huge change. Unfortunately, for the first time in the history of Indian Railways, the Indian Railways also went into the red. For the first time, our operating ratio crossed 100%, which had not happened in the previous about 170 years. So I think about a bit of analysis of 2019 is also relevant. Now coming to the COVID era, and now where we are post-COVID, where is our current? So as far as Indian Railways is concerned, whereas I said we should have had 160 kmph more than 50 years ago, or the world already had it more than 100 years ago, we are still nowhere near 160 kmph. So we hope that we'll be able to run at 130 kmph. And the average speed will perhaps be less than 100 kilometers per hour. Now, at this moment, I think the Indian Railways has gone into a very, very ambitious program for bringing in hundreds of 9,000 horsepower locomotives for improving the mobility, for bringing in hundreds of 12,000 horsepower locomotives, again for bringing in mobility, for manufacturing about 75 Vande Bharat trains in ICF within 1 year, and for making about 200 trains with the help of multinationals or maybe some local Indian manufacturers too. And then looking for about 100 aluminum trains, and then looking for about 100 push-pull trains. Push-pull trains, of course, is something which is still to be tried. So we have gone into very, very ambitious, but at the same time, I believe that the track congestion remains, Our mobility is nowhere near what it should be. So I'm not very sure where these trains are actually going to be able to, be able to give the service, because as yet we have not seen the announcements of where these trains are going to be running and what's going to be the timetabling. So I guess the next 1 or 2 months will make the picture a lot clearer. When the trains begin to roll out, we hope that next month there will be rollout of trains from ICF. So I guess the picture should get clearer in the next 1 or 2 months. And only then we'll be able to say whether we've really gone in for, and increased mobility. Whereas for the present, I believe it's looking at it very optimistically.
Agrawalji, let us hope for the best. We have to start work.
This will go on.
No, you see, what you are saying is absolutely right, but we have to get going.
We have to get
That's the only way ahead. If we don't today, I don't know when we will then. Anyhow, thank you so much for your views and giving us the real analysis, right? I will come back to you in a bit. We have also Shri Manish Agrawal ji, Head Rail Infrastructure Mobility Siemens Limited. Sir, you have been awarded a developmental order of Vande Bharat Express. Can you share some more insights into this? What are the timelines for this developmental project to be ready? And what are your views on the, thoughts of Agarwal?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, we did get a
Come back
development order
to you, sir.
for 9 train sets for Vande Bharat. We are making them. We are making them in India, in our factory in Nashik, and we will do that. The timeline is approximately 2 years, and we want to do it. Going forward, I would say we are keen to participate in these larger 200 train sets orders, but still it is work in progress. And the 9 train sets we have acquired now on development, we will deliver 18 months to 21 months is what is our plan. And we should participate in the 200 train sets, hopefully. Going forward, I would say that 3 things come to my mind when I talk about, let's say, where the whole thing for Siemens or even a company equivalent to Siemens like a Wabtec or Alstom would lie is to build capacity, to build competence, to be able to deliver these trains at the right price point, and they have to be made in India. So it's all of it together. Today, we as, let's say, a Siemens company, I don't want to talk about anything else, maybe we don't have the full competence and capacity to deliver a make-in-India train suitable for export to neighboring countries and beyond, suitable to run at 160 in India, 160 plus plus. So we have to build that. We need the help of the railway, we need the help of the industry to see that this happens, and it will happen. I have, let's say, personally a very strong conviction that now we are going extreme fast on the path of getting this 160 plus plus home. And as Agarwalji said, there have been so many things which happened in 18, 19, some slowdown in 2021, but we are catching up in 22. And if this next 6 months proves correctly and we have the right participation from the industry in these train sets tenders, there are also loco tenders. If that happens correctly, I think we are on a new orbit for the rolling stocks, at least domain in Indian Railways. Thank you so much.
Manishji, thank you so much for your views, and I wish you all the best. And anybody else would like to add something more, particularly on this Vande Bharat?
Yeah, one or two things, Mr. Goyal, I'd like to just add.
Sir, we have very little time,
Yes,
so if you...
very briefly, I'll mention that I think the how and the who, so the Indian Railways is definitely being, very ambitious, and I'm sure the industry will rise to the occasion. As he very rightly said, we've gone behind a bit, but we perhaps hope to catch up. The next few months will be critical. Where I think we need to emphasize a lot more is the passenger experience. So I have actually been also looking at the hundreds and hundreds of pages of specifications of the Vande Bharat trains, but there's very little on passenger interiors. So I think the interior experience, I mean, if you take a modern day car, I mean, you're not examining the car engine or opening the bonnet. You're getting into the driver's seat and seeing what is the look and the feel of the car. So I think a lot more perhaps now with the help of the industry. I'm sure the railways is going to be very keen. I know that the production units are trying their best. We have to focus a lot on the interiors.
Absolutely right.
So, Mr. Goyal, if you just allow me just one point, taking a cue from what Mr. Rajesh Agarwal said out of his vast experience. From a global supplier point of view, all we would like to say as Wabtec is, we've already invested significantly into this platform of semi-high speed, both in terms of competencies and capacities. And we know what happened in Indian Railways. Mr. Chandra would second me on that, as to there was a sudden ramp up in LHB coach production when you stopped conventional coaches and moved over completely to LHB. We see not exactly a similar thing happening, but a lot of the LHB coach production coming down and supplemented by train sets. So what we would request the Indian Railways is to stick to the National Rail Plan, to stick to the plans what they have done. Otherwise, the investments that the industry does, and we are all global companies, we lose confidence in the path that which we are trying to move, whether it's real or not, whether things can get delayed by 1 or 2 years, but things should not be shelved in terms of direction. So that would be our request as suppliers, because there are significant investments that are being made by suppliers like Wabtec, and as Manish also said, even propulsion systems are big investments, and the volumes are very, very low right now to recover such investments. So if these projects really do not take off in a sustainable way, in a serial way, the industry would be pushed back quite badly. So the request would be to have this plan going, to cooperate with the private sector, make them, allow them to make their minimum profitability, and hopefully these projects get decided.
I guess with the minister having the Siemens experience, you should be pretty safe.
May I just
Yeah, yes, sir, please.
like to assure Mr. Preetam Ganguly that the very fact that Indian Railways got 500 train sets sanctioned in 1 year, that itself speaks of the intention that we are not going to get back. We are only going to move forward. And the budget of 23-24 will certainly assure you of that. 500 Vande Bharat train sets means about 8,000 coaches. That is not a small number. So industry should not feel any pessimism about the intentions of Indian Railways. We are committed to move forward. We are not going to take a step back as far as technology infusion in the Indian Railways is concerned. And the next budget will also be a reflection to that.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chandra.
Thank you,
for the
Mr. Chandra, for infusing a lot of confidence into the audience. And we believe that we have a stable government, stable future, stable policy, and we hope we will move ahead slowly but surely. Now, coming to the freight corridors, we have Mr. Nanduri Srinivas, Director of Business Operations. Sir, sorry to, Now, Indian Railways is now focused on achieving freight loading of 3,000 million tons. Am I right, sir? 3,000 million tons by 2027. Can you share with the audience your perspective on this? And what is the share loading of DFC corridors in this target?
Let me first welcome the audience. I represent the organization Dedicated Freight Corporation, which is an iconic project which is now going to shift the paradigms of the freight operations and the logistics the way they are conducted in this country. We have always been associating a goods train with a slow-moving, uncared for and uncertain movement. That is the facts and which the situations associated. Now we are moving into an era where Indian Railways has contemplated that we'll create surplus capacity in such a way that if I have to grow to a 5 trillion economy, what is the engine of growth? That engine has been identified as the railway sector, and in the railway sector, the freight movement has to take place at faster pace. That faster pace can only happen, and the falling share of Indian Railways, which is bad as far as the logistics is concerned, will also have to be set right. In that direction, these freight corridors have been established. That is the paradigm shift which is happening. I heard everybody was talking about passenger trains running at near 100 kilometers speed. But we are running goods trains at near 100 kilometers speed on the DFCs. That is the paradigm shift which we have achieved. On an average, the Indian Railway goods trains get about 19 to 20 kilometers speed per hour. We are achieving 60 kilometers speed. The speed which the goods trains run because of the undeterred movement and focused approach is the one which is bringing in, it is forerunner of this Gati Shakti movement. We are now targeting Indian Railways share as per the National Rail Plan has to go towards 50% from sub 30s. That would be possible with faster movement, quicker wagon turnaround, which would enable us to meet the unmet demand and also realize the unmet capacities which are existing in the economy. Indian Railways traditionally has lost certain segments of the freight traffic, like small cargo, less than train loads, because of the way we defined the market. Now we have to redefine. We have to show the big elephant that is Indian Railways can also dance. So we are now reinventing certain business segments and rediscovering certain potentials. We are coming back to the basics of aggregation and moving the cargo. As you said, it is 3,000 million tons in 2027. There is all of you are aware, Indian Railways in the last 1 year has done a significant increase in the originating traffic by about 200 plus million tons. We have done about 1,418 million tons. But what is the real size of the market? Size of the market in logistics is about 6,000 million tons. So there is a vast blue ocean available out there. The idea is to tap that blue ocean. So 2027, Mission 3000 has been kept with that in motion, with that in mind. And DFC per se will be taking over almost 70 to 90% of the freight trains moving in eastern and western sectors, and will be contributing about 160 plus million tons in its own originating traffic. This traffic is not only the existing Indian Railway traffic which will be diverted here, but also the movement of non-conventional cargo which has hitherto been going by the, I would say, unviable or uneconomical means of transport. This is what we are concentrating on, certain innovative strategies and practices, operational practices will be brought in, are already being brought in. All of you are aware, these are some buzzwords, innovation, out-of-box thinking, disruption. These are all buzzwords, lip service words. We have been practically doing it in DFC. These things will, we hope, will bring the fruits by 2027 because of the fast, accelerated movement, the speeds with which we do it, and the innovative practices by bringing in the non-conventional cargo. So this Mission 3000 looks to me feasible, and the National Rail Plan envisages reaching to 50% of the economic logistics. That is our goal. We hope to do it fast with DFCs. Thank you.
Would any of the gentlemen like to add something onto this 3,000 million tons target?
In fact, Indian Railways have also been preparing itself for this Mission 3,000 million ton. As he rightly said that year 2021-22, we loaded, we moved about 1.4 billion tons of traffic, goods traffic. And there is immense potential. Total freight that is generated in the country, transportable freight, that is of the order of 4.6 to 5 billion tons. So we have enough potential to tap the market, and for moving these traffic, the anticipated traffic, we have an ambitious program of acquisition of 1 lakh wagons freight wagons and during this year. Although the industry is not in a position to deliver 1 lakh wagons in a year, so these will be spread over, say, 3 years. We expect about 30,000 wagons to be manufactured in a year, entire wagon industry combined, put together. So Indian Railways, yes, is also planning and trying to trying to mend all the loose ends so that this mission 3,000 million tons is achieved by 26-27.
Sir, recently, Rathawada Rail Coach Factory, Latur, rolled out its first coach shell, which is a remarkable achievement. Please share with us the modern machinery installed in this factory and which rolling stock is expected to be manufactured in the coming years in this unit.
This Marathawada Rail Coach Factory, Latur, it was envisaged, it was planned to manufacture memo trains, the trains that are going to replace our slow-moving passenger trains. But it is one of the most modern state-of-the-art facility for manufacturing of rolling stock, for manufacturing of coaches. I have been there, I have seen that factory, so I can say with confidence that there may not be a parallel in the country as of now. This, when we planned to acquire 200 train sets from trade through open competitive bidding, we, as I said earlier in my opening remarks, that Indian Railways plan to offer its manufacturing facilities and manpower to the technology partner. So the 200 train sets for which tender is live, it is planned to manufacture 120 train sets at MCF Latur, and it is completely greenfield, no regular activity has started there. So this factory will be offered to the lowest bidder, who will be manufacturing about 120 train sets in 3 years at MCF Latur. And subsequently, this will be upgraded. This has all been upgraded to manufacture train sets, because memos are also train sets only. So remaining 80 of the 200 are likely to be manufactured at ICF, where we will be offering our infrastructure to the technology partner.
I believe around 245 million US dollars has been granted to railways to modernize its infrastructure. Can you please share some insights into the same?
Well,
if you're aware about it, sir.
I am aware of the capex that has been planned to, that has been sanctioned for Indian Railways and planned to be spent over next couple of years, next 3-4 years. But I'll be concentrating on rolling stock. The rolling stock plan that we rolled out last year, that was the most ambitious rolling stock program ever envisaged. Rolling stock program is the program. It is a capex planning and investment program through which we acquire the rolling stock, and we take the approval of the parliament through the process of budget. So last year, that is 22-23 budget, that saw a rolling stock program of 1,40,000 crores. It had never happened in the history of Indian Railways. Never in the history of Indian Railways more than 60,000 crores of rolling stock programs were sanctioned in a year. So this is a very ambitious and very historic capex investment plan by the government in rail sector.
I would like to come back to Mr. Preetam Ganguly ji. There have been some major rolling stock contracts awarded recently for wagons, Indore, Bhopal, Metro, and many other are opening for locomotives, train 18, etc. How do you view these developments? Are you also expanding your capacity in India?
Okay, I think Mr. Chandra already spoke about the wagons. I mean, it's quite historic that we're talking of a tender for 75,000 wagons being awarded in 3 weeks' time post its opening. So obviously, you know, the wagon market, the wagon builders are expanding. They have to deliver within 3 years or 39 months, if I remember, these 75,000 wagons, and there's maybe another requirement for 30,000 odd wagons. So on the wagon side, we are not present in a big way. The freight segment is making bogie-mounted brake equipment and a little bit of wagon brakes. In this segment, it's not the highest focus area. We saw a very dull 2021 in terms of award of metro projects. Almost nothing got awarded. But we foresee as a strategic plan about 600, 700 odd metro cards being awarded in the different cities over the next 5 years every year. So which means a market of about 3,500 metro cards as an addressable market for the next 5 years. What we need to see on the ground is, you know, the execution of these metro projects happen fast. We all know what's happening in Mumbai. Mumbai lines where we got large orders from Alstom, they got significantly delayed. So while we have invested not only in capacities but also in engineering competencies, Wabtec has in technology and engineering center which houses almost 2,000 engineers in Bangalore. And one of the areas where we have made significant progress is to make these engineers self-sufficient, both in terms of hardware and software, so that they're able to support not only the rolling stock car builders like Alstom or BML or whoever, but also the end users during the static and dynamic trials of the trains. They're able to troubleshoot, they're able to integrate into the train control management systems. These capabilities earlier existed in Europe. We've developed all this in India. And these are engineers with very, very specific niche domain knowledge that we have hired and trained so that we are able to meet the needs of our customers quickly. In terms of capacity building, I think there's no challenge of capacity, as I told you, that if it's just about doing even at 50% market share, if Wabtec is to get for its products, okay, the volumes are insignificant, they're extremely small. Okay, so unless we really see some of these projects coming in parallel, let's say cities like Mumbai, cities like Bangalore, cities like Delhi, hopefully the tenders that are on the table get decided in the next 6, 12, 18 months. And then we really look at, volumes going up. If you see today, the combined capacities, even for making in India, Alstom Bombardier has a combined capacity of over 800 cars a year. Okay, Titagarh, the Indian car builder, BML, if you combine that, we're talking about almost 1,500 cars a year as capacity to roll out the metro trains. But we don't even have half the volume. So I don't think capacity is an issue in the metro sector at all. What is important is to see these projects getting awarded, ensure that the state governments are able to provide the infrastructure to the end users, and these projects do not suffer from cost and time overruns. And that's the main challenge, I think, in metro. Coming to the locomotive side, we are already executing a number of subsystem orders for the 12,000 horsepower Madhepura electric locomotive project for Alstom. We are also, now, GE Transport is a part of Wabtec. So we are in this PPP project for building the diesel locomotives at our plant in Marora. Almost 80% of that is local content. So capacities towards equipment for diesel and electric locomotives are also in place. Now these tenders for 9,000 and 12,000 horsepower locomotives which are going to come need expansion. So we are expanding, Wabtec is expanding into the footprint, and we are going to almost double our footprint from what we have today. Today we have 6 manufacturing units spread across different parts of India, and we are going to add a couple of other manufacturing units in the next 2 years, okay, in order to cater to not only the locomotive side, but maybe a little bit towards the regional trains and metro. We believe that in the next 3 to 5 years, the first RRTS project, Delhi Meerut, once it comes on stream, there will be other states that will come up with the regional rapid transit systems project. Hopefully that may not take off, but it will significantly grow. And we are trying to position ourselves as first movers. We are supplying a large number of components to Alstom for the RRTS Delhi Meerut train. And in the passenger transit side and on the locomotive side, these are the investments that we are making. We are also trying to localize a lot of other components that Wabtec has in its global portfolio. For example, passenger information systems, the third rail electrification, which we don't do in India today. So we are trying to build business cases, and if they're good enough, we are absolutely inclined to enhance capacities in India.
Well, thank you so much, Preetam ji, for giving us much deeper insights to your future programs. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this time, I thought we'd do the things a little differently. I would like to involve the audience here. We have a few minutes for maybe 5 or 6 questions, and you've listened to all the captains of the railways, the views, the future programs, the expansions, the scope, the amount of momentum that is happening. So anybody who may have any question of any kinds, please may raise his hands. Somebody with a mic, please, can you go there? And please let us know whom the question is aimed at.
I'm Keshav Chandra, former Railway Board member. My question is with respect to freight loading, dedicated freight corridors.
For whom, sir?
Freight loading.
Freight loading, yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Srinivas, you would be aware more than me that there are 3 railways in the world, the US railroads, the Chinese state railways, and the Russian Federation railways, which are doing almost 2.5 times of freight loading what Indian Railways is doing. We are certainly very proud of, and I've been a part of that system. We are doing something like 1,400 million tons every year. China, for our information, was doing that in 1995. Today, they are doing 4,000 million tons. Right, notwithstanding the fact that US railroads is about 150,000 kilometers of route kilometers, and the Chinese is over 100,000, and the Russian railways is about 85,000, and we are somewhere around 70,000. Notwithstanding that, notwithstanding the acquisition of wagons, we have 3 lakh wagons, and about 1 lakh of wagons are going to be acquired. Notwithstanding all that, there's something still which is required, and also the locomotives which were mentioned by Mr. Chandra and Mr. Ganguly, the components that are going to build up all those locos. So notwithstanding all that, there's still something which is required, which will take us and ramp us to those very heights. And what's that? I would like to know.
So please, would you like to take it?
Sir, if you have seen in Indian Railways and in the Indian economy as a whole, Indian Railways at one point of time, sometime in early 80s, has defined the market. Has defined the market, we have moved ahead to the block rakes and train loads. We have limited our operations and discarded a vast segment of the freight operations, that's smalls and less than train loads. Thereby, when I said there is a 6,000 million tons of the total logistics sector, Indian Railways has only done 1,400. This is what is missing. What we have missed is, one, unmet capacities, wherein the bulk transport which can be taken in train loads, we have missed because of our problems of capacities, problems of inadequate movement capacities. That is about 400 to 500 million tons. But more than that, we have missed because we have defined our market size, our acceptance size. What is my business which I have identified is all train loads. That train load means any industry, any firm or any customer who is less than 2,000 tons is not able to come to railway side. So we have partially driven it off to the rail, away from the railways. We have missed the intermediaries, the aggregators and the other associated first mile, last mile service providers who can do it, who can aggregate and bring the traffic. So this supply chain system has been missing. That is what needs to be focused on, and development of this supply chain to continuously feed to us. And also probably we may have to redefine where in DFCs we have capacity creation done in such a way, 3 times the existing railway capacity, we have got it done. Why should we be bogged down by the train load concept? So anybody who will come with optimal and ready to pay for the path utilization, we will be taking care of. This is what I said, we need to rediscover, re-identify the market, target that particular segment wherein we can rope in all these less than train load customers who are ready to go, because ideally, if you look at the logistics cost involved, Indian Railways per se is cheaper. But why people go for the road is the cost of the secondary logistics. First mile, last mile service providing is one of the costliest items. The overall cost function is neglected. This is what we need to focus on. Sort of economics have to play a role other than only blind operations or monopoly. This thing. We need to pursue business from the business angle. As a businessman will pursue. That is what is the focus required, and that is what is required. I think that is what is the lacking thing which you said. Build up of this supply chain mechanism and the business approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your opinion, which is very true. Now, anybody else who has a question, please, can you please take the mic? Ms. Sapna, do we have enough time? Another 5 minutes. Very good.
A short question. I am Ranit Rana from Jindal Stainless. So it's got to do with the Vande Bharat trains. So the recent 2 tenders which have come out in aluminium.
Question is for whom, sir?
For anybody, because
Okay.
Chandra is there, but of course all of you are experts. So in the last 2 aluminium tenders, the allocated budget is about 8 crore per coach, aluminium coach. So do you think, and it involves not only the supply but the maintenance as well. So do you think it's sufficient to have an aluminium coach within this budget? And yeah, that's my question. Or is the budget going to increase later on?
Well, as you might be knowing, since you are from the rolling stock industry, that cost of the shell, the body portion, that is about 10% of the total cost of the coach per se. So if a coach is costing, say, 6 crores, the cost of the shell is only 60 lakhs. While arriving at or while estimating the price of these coaches or the train sets, aluminum train sets, we had an extensive interaction with industry partners. At that point of time, we fixed up a price of about 130 crores or something for a 16-car train. So, as you rightly said, it is about 8 crores per coach. But this does not include the maintenance part. The maintenance part is, again, it is a different component of the life cycle cost of the coach. So, at that point of time, the industry had said about 8 to 10 crores should be okay for the aluminum shell and for the aluminum coach. And if the volumes are large, then this cost is going to come down. So I think the cost at this moment may not be that much relevant because we are close to the estimated cost what industry has had projected at that point of time. Moreover, we'll come to know about the actual cost. It is only an estimate. We will come to know about the actual cost when the tenders are finally in and we take a call on that.
Anybody else, sir? Thank you so much for your reviews. Yes, sir. Can we have the mic there, please?
Okay. Yeah. My question is related to the interior part of the train. Like sir rightly said, now we have to focus in the interior as well. So is railways open for the innovative material other than your standard steel or aluminium or?
Would anybody like to give any view on the interiors?
The entire Vande Bharat interior uh, will be way above. It will be a real upgrade of what we have been providing in the two Vande Bharats that is running today. And I did not intentionally comment upon interiors because we are in fact taking a lot of pain in improving the interiors and we are making a lot of investment into that. But we want you to see it to believe it. So interior, of course, are going to be way above what has been provided in the current lot of trains.
Thank you.
Well, everybody is asking from there. How about this corner? Anybody for any question, please? Yes, the gentleman there. This is the last question, please. Yeah.
Hello, myself Sangeet Jain from SKF. I have a question regarding the operational cost of LHB versus Vande Bharat. Since the total investment over the Vande Bharat approximately 3 times of the LHB, if we take it as a complete one train set or one fleet. Thank you.
The tenders that has been invited, that has been planned is for energy efficient Vande Bharat. We are going to provide an intense incentive for for every unit of energy saved in running and operating the train. Both the things cannot be compared. LHB trains are loco-hauled and these are self-powered, distributed power train sets. The comparison of cost into unlike things will not be appropriate. If you want to compare it with the cost of such train sets which you acquire from abroad or from European countries. The similar train set that we are planning to roll out in 130 crores, you will not get it from international market in less than 200 crores. So the train sets that we will be manufacturing, it will be one of the cheapest globally. We are not comparing it with LHB trains. LHB is a different technology, different coach, and of a different era. This is something which is the future.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think
sir,
the time is almost up.
One
Yes.
more question we can entertain, sir.
We can. There was somebody from there,
Yes,
please.
yes. Can we have the microphone over to sir? That will be the last question, sir.
Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. My question is addressed to Mr. N. Srinivas. Well, sir, we have been talking a lot about rolling stock, no doubt about it. How about the dedicated freight corridors? Like we have got WDFC and EDFC, which are partially operational and partially under construction. What's the future plan for extending the infrastructure? Apart from WD and ED, is there any other corridors, dedicated corridors, I mean to say, where you can have a double-deck coaches, capacities for that?
I understand double-stack containers you are talking about, yeah.
Apart
See,
from
basically, we are now operational. Sorry, I'm just preempting because I
thanks.
understood your question. In paucity of time, I'll just be brief. Both EDFC, Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor, Western Dedicated Freight Corridor, we are partially operational. We hope to complete everything by June 23. We hope to do it much earlier, but because of pandemic, we could not do it and associated problems. We are ready to complete by June 2023. You can see the entire dedicated freight corridors coming in with seamless operation of all hinterlands of UP getting connected to the western ports by December itself, by December 22 itself, because once Rewari Dadri is connected, we are getting through to all the Gujarat ports. Mumbai port will be hopefully connected by June 2023. Now, apart from these freight corridors, government has already ordered DPRs to be done for 3 more dedicated freight corridors, East-West, East Coast, and south-north. Now these are the three corridors. The DPRs are already under preparation. We are going ahead. We are going to go about East Coast corridor and East-West corridor. South-north may not be financially so attractive, but we are just looking at the traffic projections, taking some look into the future and taking the predictions, which is a very difficult task. But then we are looking at the infrastructure creation. Honorable Finance Minister had already questioned us when last expo it happened in Ahmedabad. She has asked about the future freight corridors. So we are getting those reports getting ready. The DPRs will be out sometime in December. We hope to present it to the Parliament. And then the government will take the decision about the development of these freight corridors. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this session has been an eye-opener, not only for me, but all the delegates and attendees who are present here, along with the railway fraternity who are watching this event handles all over the world. Thank you all once again. Please do not forget to check out all the stalls at your display in this event. And also you can connect with the companies and experts of your choice to add momentum to your business opportunities. Thank you once again.